Welcome, 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 dear all, to hitbox.tv/Wensleydale. This is Stammer Stream, aka, as some would say, the Diet Manga Recap. To which I would say, touche. I'm your stammering host, Wensleydale Cheddar, the President Trump of podcasting. I shouldn't be in this position. Nobody's happy about me doing this, and yet here I fucking am, and you're all going to suffer through it. I'm of course here alongside your non-stammering hosts. This is your cue to introduce yourselves.
Oh god, who goes first?
Shh, we're not here. Pretend he's talking to himself.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dr. Nova, Dr. Nova, you go first.
Alright, hi, Dr. Nova here, one of the two admins of ODA:R online, and, the person who gets to record this the earliest, because my time zone's weird that way.
And I'm Kastor UK in the UK. I'm the third one.
And he writes stuff occasionally. We would use
Yes, unfortunately the writing is currently of the scientific paper style because final year is a pain.
Yeah, we would usually be joined here by Hoven with an H, but unfortunately he's got a sore throat, so yeah, we hope he gets well soon. So right, we're here to talk about some manga. So let's start, let's get into it with the One Piece, chapter 859.
Yes, One Piece chapter 859. I've got to try and recap a chapter where every text spot, where every panel is half text in a minute.
I wish you the best of luck.
Going to be quite a lot of contractions here. Okay. I'm just going to bring up the timer. And One Piece chapter 859 starting now. So we're currently we're currently in the meeting with the Straw Hats, and it doesn't help when I can't remember the name. Beige Gang. Gang Beige. But can't call him Capone. No, 20 seconds. Okay. Essentially, what happens in this chapter is Capone reveals his plan of how he's going to kill Big Mom, which is essentially shooting her with nerve toxins after Luffy cuts a photo in half. Because apparently he saw previously that if anything happens to this photo, she will literally scream, break down screaming. Her conqueror's haki will knock out everyone in the room, and when she's screaming, she's able to be hurt by normal weapons when normally she's impervious to anything around her. And that's pretty much it, because that's a minute.
And also,
Nice.
also Capone is a great father.
Also, yes, Capone is actually a really good father, which is surprising considering his introduction by Jinbei was, this guy's surprisingly evil for somebody the Straw Hats is trying to team up with.
Well, you know the Mafia, the family's most important, which I haven't actually got a good memory with, because once I was in a team with, I was once on a LARP when we were a team. We were a Mafia family, and by the end of it, everyone just started betraying each other, and that was so heartbreaking.
Yeah. I think we missed was a crucial detail of this chapter, which is that in Cheese Town on Milk Island,
yeah.
The entire town is apparently protected by a giant sentient cheeseburger with a chef's hat.
That is terrifying. Which is flying.
It's terrifying, but a lovely detail.
It is flying. You can see clouds behind it.
Hello?
That's terrifying.
Guys?
Hey.
Can you hear us, Jonah?
No!
Oh dear. Oh dear, we timed the same line. Okay then.
Yeah.
Okay then.
I did miss one very important detail, which is Pudding is evil, and decides to take an entire page to remind us of the fact.
Well, I think actually and this is going to be my mental theory all over again. That the fact that Oda just hammers the fact into us is going to be build up for a double reveal that she's actually not evil.
Oh, not you too. I've heard this from loads of people who don't want the pretty girl to be evil, to be honest.
I
But
don't mind
if-
her being a pretty girl and being evil. I just thought the reveal before was a bit too simple, and I wanted to. I don't know. I guess I just expect a lot more from Oda than I should.
Okay then. If she is good, secretly good all along, and what's the point of this apart from a swerve for the sake of a swerve? What does she have to gain by pretending to be evil and talking to herself and even in her moments by herself
Well,
being evil?
Well, the big motivation for me was that maybe, and this is all just a theory. Again, I'm fine if Pudding is evil and that's just it.
No, yeah, I'm just interested to know why you're thinking this way.
Is that maybe just after hearing Sanji's story, she wanted him to have. She wanted to kind of influence him to run away with the Straw Hats. Again, this kind of doesn't make sense with a few details. In that we have. Okay, we have heard her thoughts about the matter several times, and curiously, again, maybe this wasn't a translation issue, but I kind of found each case kind of neutral on that matter, as if it could be either way. Either she could be actually working for Big Mom all along, which she kind of is anyway, even if she is sympathetic towards Sanji because she is her daughter. But
Can you guys hear me decently?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can. I'm using my phone right now, so does the audio sound okay?
Yeah.
Very passable for a phone.
Yeah, it's okay.
Fair enough. Okay,
Yes. So
yeah, I'll use this for now. Hopefully my other Skype will pull its foot out of its butt, and I will be able to work out something better a little later.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we were just discussing Pudding and whether she's evil or not, and I'm thinking the latter, despite all the evidence.
And I'm going with and I'm on the side of that she is evil because the only reason that it would be a double cross is because people don't want to think that she's evil.
I don't really see the point in not making the character evil at this point. I feel like it's really just a sake for a twist at this point, which isn't really Oda's storytelling style.
My exact words, yeah. Swerve for the sake of a swerve.
Oh, I'll judge it when we have the end of the arc, maybe. But yeah.
Agreed.
Yes, when we have answers, then we can all gloat, and then the rest of us can deny we never said that.
Yeah. I'm just gonna end that with a little anecdote. When the twist actually happened, when we found out that that Pudding betrayed Sanji. And Chris was gloating during WMR. I said, don't count your chickens before they hatched. And then in the next few chapters we had Baron Tamago's fight. So yeah.
Yeah. But no, the rest of the chapters, like the attack on Big Mom, it sounds far too planned out for it to go right.
Yeah.
I think it sounds a little weird to be. I mean, I know maybe this is just One Piece storytelling, but it sounds like a plan Buggy would come up with.
Slightly. Well, I don't think Buggy would use nerve weapons that are very loosely based on chemical weapons used in World War II.
Probably not, but there's a pretty significant part of this plan that just hasn't seemed to be addressed, which is that Big Mom's not going to be the only person there. We still have her other 2, 3 sweet commanders, maybe 3 if Cracker's still around. And then we have all of her supporters and all of her soldiers. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that easy.
Yeah.
Well, I think the main idea is that once they take down that picture, she'll get rid of most of her own forces by losing control of her conqueror's haki.
Yeah, and
that's fair, but even in just a moment.
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually.
Okay, never mind.
This is actually what I was going to bring up, because they, as a countermeasure to a haki, the Capone provides them with earplugs. So this is. So is this a confirmation that that Conqueror's haki works through sound?
I think it's implied that Big Mum's use of it in this scenario is her scream, because Luffy's definitely done it by occasionally just opening his eyes before.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if the exact workings of the haki works through sound waves, or whether it just, because I guess how the anime showed it might kind of be similar to that, but I don't know. It just seemed weird for me to assume that that the earplugs would just would be the perfect countermeasure to that, or maybe it's just the countermeasure to her screaming, and and I guess they're just going to assume that the haki is not going to affect them.
No, you bring up a good point.
I think we can assume at this point that most of the cast, a little bit of an asterisk next to people like Nami, Chopper, and maybe even Brook, I think we can say most of the cast is probably strong enough to stand up to that kind of haki at this point.
Yeah, but I think you do have a point, Cheddar. Looking back at the manga itself, not the cool things the anime does, but looking back at the main uses of Luffy's used Conqueror's haki, I'm trying to remember what he did in Fishman Island, but when he used it in the Marineford arc, he shouted stop, and there was definitely a shout component to it. Yeah. Before now, I was just thinking that Conqueror's haki could be used in different media by different people, but you're right. It could be that it is a word or the sound of someone's voice, which would be interesting.
Yeah, I guess so. So do we have anything else to bring up apart from the fact that that Usopp is on the cover page and this is lovely and I miss him so much?
I just mentioned the fact we've got this mystery person, this photograph that Big Mum holds so dear that just touching it makes her break down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mother Caramel. Again. This arc keeps making the characters I introduce on ODA are redundant. I made one of the big pirates on the West Blue. I called him Caramello. So,
yeah.
There's a working theory going around right now, because the third admiral is named Green Bull, that he's going to have some kind of plant powers. I'm like, don't you dare, Oda.
Well,
don't you dare. That's my thing.
I'd be interested to know if he's going to have radiation powers.
That's another theory. That's pretty prevalent.
Because when they brought out Blind Guy as the new as the new moral justice guy, if they're bringing in someone to counter it, it's probably gonna have to be somebody really, really terrible.
I guess speaking of plants, I was going to bring it up some time ago, but I'm wondering what is up with the tree symbolism on Big Mom's flag, because there is this tree on the right side of a flag, and maybe this is something that's related to that figure on the picture, because otherwise.
Family tree?
Because otherwise, I don't know what it would be.
Well, the sun and the wind could be her Zeus and Prometheus.
Okay. That's true.
But the tree, I can only think of. Oh, that's annoying. It looks like a tangerine tree.
Oh.
People are going. I don't agree with this theory, but I know but people will seize on it.
Oh.
Personally, I'd go with family tree, because that seems to be her big thing.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe just King Baum's just that important to her.
That'd be quite funny as well. He was meant to be a really important character until he got cut in half.
Ah, poor guy.
Yeah, but no. Otherwise, you do have her three main things: Zeus, Prometheus, and Napoleon, all in her flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
I really hope it's not a tangerine tree. It doesn't need to be a tangerine tree, and I'm going to be annoyed if people are right about that.
Is that the Big Mom is Nami's mom theory?
Yeah, which doesn't need to be a thing, and it's just.
It really doesn't. I mean, if it is, fair enough, but I don't really. Nami's story, I think, at this point is complete, and I know people said the same thing about Sanji. And now we're expanding on that. But there was a bit more mystery to Sanji that was at least built up with this. And I don't feel there's a ton with Nami.
I wouldn't actually agree with you, because we I think we've seen both Frankie and Nami claim to, or at least someone claimed that that they have the origins. Their parents were apparently pirates, but I'd agree with you that we don't really need to throw Nami's origins into this particular arc, but I would definitely like to see this expanded upon in a later arc, maybe.
I think Nami was just a war orphan, and considering how young the baby would have she was when she was a baby, when she was held by Noeko, she looked at least 1 year old at oldest, which would mean that Big Mom would either had to have given birth in the East Blue, or somehow they had to get a baby from the New World to the East Blue within a year, and then got it killed in a village, and then got the carriers killed in a village somewhere, which seems fairy tale levels of overly contrived of everyone's related.
Anyway, good chapter.
Good chapter. Let's not get caught up on fan theories that would be really annoying if they were true.
Good chapter, enough theorizing. Okay, so let's move on to Fairy Tail, chapter 527. My name is. And we have the cover page, which is an image from Duke Evalu's arc, continuing the trend of having the covers recap Fairy Tail from beginning to end, I guess. And we continue the battle between. Have you started the timer?
Oh, Paul, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know you were starting. All right. And go.
So we continue the battle between August and Gildarts. As they clash, Kana's backside attacks with cards. August dodges, then Gildarts attacks him with his crash magic. That has no effect on him. Then August attacks Kana with a stick. Yeah. Gildarts shields her with his prosthetic arm, and they have a bit of a back and forth about him somehow managing to be an overprotective deadbeat dad at the same time. Gildarts launches himself at August, causing the stick to go right through him. And we cut to the location of the Fairy Tale Guild, where Zeref reveals to Lakade that he's only a demon of the Book of Zeref. He was the closest thing Zeref had to rebuilding Natsu, so he gave Lakade the name Dragneel. Then we cut to a flashback where Precht exposits to himself about Mavis and Zeref's... Mavis and the Emperor's child! He has second thoughts about allowing the boy to live, so he just abandons him in the mountains. Okay. I guess Precht was an evil bastard all along, not just when he became Hades. Then the child itself narrates its baby memories, where we see it meet Zeref after stealing loaves of bread at age 1. Jesus Christ! That's better than Ray. That's almost like fucking.
That's Medora levels.
Yeah. Well, so we cut back to the battle against August, where Gildarts figures out his powers are instantaneous copying and, I guess, negation magic, even though the translation I read doesn't really say so. So it's powerful, but unable to copy holder-type mages like Lucy or Kana. So Kana weakens August with her calm magic, and Gildarts delivers the final blow, just as we learn in another flashback the answer to the question of, and this is the final time I'm going to say this, why did the Emperor never love his child?
Yeah, that's a running joke. I'm happy he's gonna die.
In the flashback, Zeref names the boy August after the time he has spent with Mavis, even though he never even realized it was the kid. Dumb. This was an actually good twist, and I kind of like this chapter, and I don't like it because I expected Fairy Tale to be... have you stopped the timer?
2 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay.
We're getting better.
Yeah. I feel so betrayed by Fairy Tale right now. I spent my whole life thinking of it as a bad manga. I read it week to week, expecting the worst of the worst, and this time we have Mashima writing actually a decent twist. I'm flabbergasted.
It is really annoying, and it feels like a betrayal when Hero sets up a stupid plot point that we can riff on and have fun about, and then actually gives a proper conclusion because we just assumed he was an idiot.
Ah, how dare you prove your worth, you bastard!
When were you ever under the impression that I can't write a decent twist if I feel like it?
Well, I have this chart in my room. Let me show. Yeah, the twist in this chapter, I like it. I like it turning out that August was the child all along. The fact that there are still things that like make me laugh just for the heroisms, in the sense that like you see Zeref just like torturing and like beating the shit out of Lakade, and Natsu just doesn't like. I'd say he doesn't give a shit, but I know Natsu's right there just like, what are you doing? He was your friend. I'm like, but, well, you're not doing anything to protect him.
Yeah, he's just saying, no, don't do that, stop that, no, come on, don't do that.
He's sitting there powering up his friendship meter, because he knows that if he watches Zeref beat the shit out of Lakade enough, he'll get enough for a power-up. Oh...
Yeah,
yes, Hero.
The other thing that we might perhaps nitpick on is that is the baby memories thing, and the fact that August somehow survives on his own after being discarded by Precht in the mountains, and freaking starts running at about age 2 or something. I don't know. And
I'm fine with that bit because this is Fairy Tale and the kid is literally magic. So I can suspend my disbelief enough for that, even though it is a bit stupid of, holy shit, this 2-year-old child has literally stolen my bread. What was I doing not looking? How did this 2-year-old child get the better of me? It's quite funny.
I'm just accepted because children have always been bullshit in Fairy Tale.
Yes.
They never really acted much like kids, but it's always been the case where they just do this ridiculously, but usually revolving around Urza.
Yeah.
Like
she did magically save half the Tower of Paradise in flashback.
I'm more talking about before even she got to the Tower of Paradise, and she, like, saved Kagura by throwing her in this thing and was like, go, live on, because I guess at 6 years old, I can, like, have this noble speak to me.
I had forgotten she did that.
I didn't even remember that, to be honest.
Oh.
I remember way too much of this series, because I dropped... The only reason I read it is purely because it's up on Weekly Manga Recap. Otherwise, I dropped this series.
Yep.
Where they covered it. I mean, it's a fine chapter. I've heard some interesting things about the next chapter that I'm really looking forward to, but, like, on its own merits, I think it's fine. The only thing I don't quite understand is he said, like, okay, I can buy the baby memory shit. There's a lot of that in Shonen Jump right now. But he said, like, I learned about Zeref and Mavis from my memories. I don't know where he would have learned about Zeref from.
I'm guessing bullshit magic racial memory.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thing is, I don't mind the baby stuff. It's fairy tale. I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of this is magic. What?
Oh god, he's even better than Ray. He Ray had his memories when he was in the womb, and he's had his memories even as a sperm.
Yeah, that is. Which actually brings me on to the point I want to bring up. In the translation you lot are reading, you know where Hades is reading out, and in my translation he says, Mavis's child. Does that mean Zeref is the father? When could she have? No. Despite her looks, Mavis is a grown woman. That isn't the issue here. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. She's not a grown woman. That's the point. Her body was frozen in time, age 12. She can be mentally 200 or what. That is still the body of a 12-year-old that got pregnant.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that Hiro had to address it to dismiss it. And even that didn't work.
Well, we know that Precht is a terrible person, so yeah.
I also do quite like the idea of I've saved this child's life. I've done the better thing. Now I'm going to dump it in the mountains because who cares about this child?
Which is
not even.
This is the worst thing you can do. You can at least mercy kill it.
I mean, just, like, put it in, like, an orphanage or something, or, like, fuck, hey, look, there looks like a torture tower over there.
Yes.
Bullshit children.
Yes. Put it in the Promised Neverland orphanage, and the circle begins.
What does he do? Just leave it in the middle of Sparta or something?
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. Every time I see this, I just see the fat baker who a 2-year-old stole 4 loaves of bread from and is able to run faster than the baker. This is... This 2-year-old just got the better of this baker, and the baker's just like, no, not again!
This is not a good day for that baker. He's really getting screwed over.
This baker is on the same level as the cabbage guy from Avatar.
Oh, I've still got one question. So the last page says, why did the Emperor never love his child? That is because he was never even aware of my existence. Why didn't you tell him?
Oh, I actually know this one. Zeref kills everything he loves. Therefore, to stay alive, August is like, I'm not going to tell you I'm your son, because otherwise I will die. I think it's aura around him.
No,
I'd like to think he just never really wanted to have that awkward conversation.
Oh no! Yeah, in my baby memories, I can remember you and Mum banging, and I'm pretty sure she was 12. So.
Oh God! Out of all the characters from Spriggan 12, I hope that August gets a face turn, and at the end of Fairy Tail we get to see him, Zeref, and Mavis act as a family, which is going to be interesting.
Yes. Also, because it would have mean he'll have to have survived Gildart's generic punch magic. which I do think is funny. Just like, oh, fairy glitter, magic cards, punch magic, you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to say about this chapter. It's a decent chapter, which goes a long way for fairy tale sometimes.
Yeah, though credit where credit is due. This was a capable chapter.
Yeah, it was a good chapter for fairy tale, although it speaks volumes that even the second best chapter of fairy tale, in my opinion at least, is still on the level of Promised Neverland at its most bullshit.
Yes. Yeah, one of the best chapters of fairy tale can be summed up with, it was okay. It can be summed up with, well, it wasn't bad.
Although we still have lots of nitpicks. Yeah, but let's dive right.
What are we on next?
Yeah, let's dive right into Food Wars, Shokugeki no Souma.
Alright.
Oh, the cage one. Go on.
Yeah.
Oh. Go.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah, so
Okay. On the timer. 3, 2, 1, go.
So the regimented cuisine starts, and a bunch of the resistors get put in a cage for some reason. And Souma and Nene start their Shokugeki, and it's revealed that her specialty is Japanese soba noodles, which ends up being the secret ingredient, much to the terror of everyone else but Souma, who decides to make yakisoba, which is a fried noodle dish. Yep.
20 seconds, and to be honest, that is pretty much it.
Yeah.
There's a bit we can go into the details because the actual interaction between the two of them is quite interesting. But that's pretty much what happens in this chapter.
Apart from the super appropriate Cougar's period joke, I guess.
Oh, for fuck, yeah.
Sorry, where is that?
It's a... Yeah, no, it is there.
Yeah, when
definitely there.
When he talks about Nene, he says, Yukihira-san, little Miss Braids over there is always on edge. She's got a sharp tongue that'll lash out at any moment. So stay on your toes, alright? And I think she's probably on her period today.
Which is in a different word bubble, so it just sounds like he's done this entire thing as an afterthought. Oh yeah, and she's probably on her period. Just what the fuck, Cougar?
The shitty thing is, I'm pretty sure Kuga's done that every single time he's interacted with Nene. I'm almost positive he made that exact same joke during the fall meet and greet.
Did he?
If he did, that's amazing.
Almost entirely positive.
Because they are in the same year, so I can definitely see that there's like a rivalry between them, and he's just really petty about it.
There's something I'll have to address a little later, but what I'll say overall for this chapter is I do like it in concept. Souma having to face the 6th seat, most likely 6th, we don't really, that hasn't been revealed yet.
Yeah, it is revealed in this chapter, and why is she the 6th seat? This doesn't make any sense. Who is the 3rd seat now? Is that one of the stupid hat guys that just got introduced?
Oh, if they're stupid hat guy, that's going to be hilarious.
I assumed they were both 3rd years, so I thought so, but we'll see. I like that panel where they have to make soba is hilarious. I think
great.
I think seeing Nene start to work with the ingredients really shows off the art. I think the cage is stupid.
Yes, the cage is Team Rocket levels of stupid.
I don't mind it.
I think it's incredibly silly. The one thing though that, and it's the one legitimate criticism I'll give to this chapter before I move on to the other thing I have later, is that I'm not sure, and I know that I think Ashiki and the other guy, they're going to be able to help out at some point. I don't know why you'd start with Souma for this, and I'm not just talking in a story sense, I mean in a meta sense, in the sense that we've seen Souma cook the most easily. So if you think like, okay, I want to build up some excitement and I want to build up, some intrigue, you'd think you'd show somebody who we haven't seen cook before, or at the very least, someone who we haven't seen cook in a very, very long time. Because it's been, I think, since his Shokugeki with Subaru, we haven't seen Aldini do anything on his own.
We haven't seen Aldini do anything. Period.
I guess it's kind of a thing for shonen manga, but because in the Chunin exam arc, you remember that in the finals of the third round, Naruto went up first against Neji, so.
No, I can see what you mean, but the Chunin exams, the entire focus of that arc was the Naruto fight was a side story because everyone was waiting for Sasuke versus Gaara, which was meant to be the first fight.
No, it was meant to be the second fight.
That was, yeah. But the entire emphasis on that was Sasuke versus Gaara is going to be the big fight, and to the point where no one, even in universe, no one really cared about Naruto versus Neji.
Well, does anyone in the universe really care that much about Souma? I mean, I can understand Erina and all the other previous members of the Elite Eight. What is now 8, but what was previously 10.
I think they care about Souma. I mean, he's the highest ranking member of the Fall Classic that's left. So yeah. I think they care about him to some degree. My thing is just that I feel like for a reader standpoint, I feel like even if the three of them are all engaged in this context, you think you'd start with like a cooking style we haven't seen before, to really build up the excitement and build up Souma a bit more, because there's no way this is the last Shokugeki we're going to see from Souma during this entire thing. So
the only thing I can think of, again looking at it from a meta standpoint, is that the author might not think he has the time can hold his audience's interest for long enough to be able to build something up. If he knows that a Souma Shokugeki will get interest back in his series, then maybe he's counting on that if I kick it off with a bang, I can get enough interest and enough leeway with the editors to be able to include all the sections of this arc I want to.
I could see that.
It's a depressing way of looking at it, I know, but
somewhat. The thing is that, like, just to go off on a slight tangent here, because I got some feedback about like what I said last week, and I think I want to put into context a bit more why I feel this arc as a whole has the potential to be a disappointment. And I try to stay on the positive a lot of the time, but I want to specifically note why I feel it's disappointing that we have these final 8.
Yeah.
As the final, which is that in my mind, the best shonen tournament arc I've ever read is the Fall Classic, personally. I think it introduced us to a lot of really interesting characters. I think it had a lot of great one-on-one matches. It didn't get interrupted, which is a rarity for shonen. And it ends on this very uplifting note, even though it's supposed to be a bittersweet finale, which is that Souma goes up against Kurokiba and Hayama, easily, in my mind, the two most interesting rivals for him in that arc. And he and Kurokiba lose to Hayama. And while that's seen as a very bittersweet moment, there's a scene shortly after that where all three of them are together tasting Hayama's dish and just kind of ripping on each other. They're saying like, oh, mine was actually better. Oh, I beat you next time. And there's a single panel of the three of them arguing. Well, Dojima watches them and says those three will be an interesting pair. And it was such an interesting moment for a shonen series to have the main character and two characters who were just introduced in this arc. This wasn't like Erina, Aldini, or Megumi, or characters we've had for a while. These were characters who were introduced in this arc, who got a great story throughout the entire time, and are now elevated to being on the same level as those other main characters that we've seen. And it was a really excellent shonen moment, and neither of them are in this context. And half of the people in the Fall Classic aren't in this contest.
Yeah.
And it's not a question of, oh, well, you're just saying that these things doesn't have the potential to be good. I'm not saying that. Of course I want to see what Ashiki cooks. Of course I want to see Kuga in a Shokugeki setting. Of course I want to find out what made the third seat so good. Subaru, I don't give a shit about, but maybe some people like it.
I give more of a shit about Subaru than Aldini, I will admit.
I like Aldini a little
too.
bit more, but just a little.
Why?
But what
Fair
I...
enough.
He's a shonen protagonist in the position of a rival. I think that's kind of and Souma constantly makes fun of him for that fact.
At first, he was a less douchey Draco Malfoy, which I really enjoyed. But what sort of ends in this arc is in the sense that there are all these characters who we follow this entire time, who are quite literally in a cage in the corner.
No.
Half of the people in the Fall Classic, Hisako, Alice, Hayama, Kurokiba, or even if you were a big Nikumi fan, who I'm sure some people are, even if
there are boob people out there.
Exactly. Even if you like those characters, they're not here.
And Yuki and the Dude Bros and
they're in a cage in the corner.
And
a
Marui.
cage which I want to point out.
The two Dude Bros who just fry stuff. Yeah, I thought they were going to be big. Like, Souma, do you need something fried? Actually, I do that a lot on my own. Ah, shit, you're right. Well, if you need other things fried. so that's just sort of where I'm coming from.
That sounded wrong.
Yeah. That's just where I'm coming from, in the sense that most of the cast we have not been following for very long, and I feel like this would be a bigger moment if we had more people who we've seen throughout the entire series, because these are characters who've had mini arcs just based around them. Nikumi showed up in the Azon build-up arc with the fried chicken stand. Kurokiba had his own Shokugeki recently. Hayama had that entire story arc with the bear meat Shokugeki. Hisako was essentially the second main character for the entire, well, not the entirety, for half of the Stagiaire arc. And none of them are able to do anything for the entirety of the Regiment de Cuisine, and it just feels disappointing.
I agree.
I'm gonna counter. Wes, I keep hearing myself on your end, I think. Anyway, I'm gonna counter that with a bit of a theory, and I know it's enough theories for this week, but I'm wondering if perhaps people aren't gonna win matches on Team Erin's side, then perhaps they're going to reinstate some of the people in the cage to actually take part in the Shokugeki. I know this would be kind of against the shonen spirit and the like, because well, it wouldn't be really an equal match anymore. But maybe this is these kind of ideas that they are trading could be a kind of a way back for some people like Alice and Kurokiba to actually join the team. Should maybe the people like Subaru and what was his name, Makishima, should they perhaps lose against someone stronger, but win some matches before and restate some of the people in the cage to the team. Yeah, I think it's unlikely, but it would be an interesting way to bring them back.
I could see that. I wonder then what's the point of having the even teams then?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can also get like these many people as much as you want. If we had maybe more characters built up on the villain side, which to be fair they have been doing, I just don't think the author has time to use them anymore. Because I know when Nene had her Shokugeki, there were these two like really heavily designed characters who were there assisting her, who have just never shown up and probably will never show up again.
Which is a real problem with Shokugeki no Souma. Its cast has gone far past the scale that its author can control. When you were talking earlier about the full classic being great, it was, but the author couldn't control a cast of that size. That's why we've seen people drop off, people not have Shokugekis, people been thrown into the background, to the point where, do you remember that guy with long hair who was an expert in smoking in the Polaris Storm?
Yeah, Ibusaki.
Yes. He's not drawn in this chapter. I don't think he's been drawn for a while. I think he's been forgotten.
Yeah, and he's an interesting case because he's been built up several times.
He's been built up. He's been foreshadowed. He apparently had a really stressful Sanjier to the point where he nearly failed. And we haven't heard from him since. We saw he passed, but we haven't heard anything of him since. I think the Shokugeki no Souma's problem at the moment is that the author has far too many characters to deal with, and the fact that we've got this slightly disappointing group for this regimen de cuisine is because he's trying to go back to his core characters he wanted to start with before it got out of control.
I'm going to counter you slightly. We do actually see Ibusaki for 1 second.
I scanned this entire chapter.
Staring at the cage next to you, Shino.
Oh, damn. I went through the entire chapter trying to figure out if I could see him.
I know we have to get to other series, so I don't want to argue over Shokugeki no Souma too much. I think it's actually been very interesting seeing the author integrate these characters in different ways. For the most part, I think it's been done fine, at least in the sense that I feel like up until now, the most interesting characters did get the spotlight, and once in a while you get this bit of build-up for someone else. But what worked so well in the Fall Classic was that even when the characters were kicked out, they didn't go away, because Souma's entire preparation for the final match with Kurokiba and Hayama involved talking to a bunch of different characters to try and ask about their cooking styles. He talked to Nikumi, he talked to Ibusaki as well, he talked to, I'm forgetting her name, but the girl with long hair who's very good at fermenting things. He talked to all of them in an attempt to try and figure out different ways to use the pike, and I was kind of hoping that's how it was going to end up going here, where in order to prepare for these Shokugekis, it was a lot of training with the characters who had already gotten kicked out. Clearly that's not the case in the sense that everything is apparently going to be random. But I guess the point I want to make is I don't feel that this is a long-running problem in Shokugeki no Souma, because I feel like the author has actually balanced it very well. I feel like this is a problem more contained to this arc, which honestly makes it all the more unfortunate that we're not entirely sure if we're going to get any more after this.
I'd agree with you up until the Fall Classic, which is where it was at its best. But ever since Central got involved, they kept building up people. Do you remember the random jobbers that were built up as being the parts of Central where Kurokiba got his Rentaro? That was his name.
Kastor, how could anyone forget Rentard?
I love Rentaro, so that was great.
Because it was a cool fight, but there was no reason for him to be there in the terms of the series. I think pretty sure he was just there for Kurokiba to get a fight, because there was no cost for that fight. There was nothing gained. There was nothing lost. There was a small thing of Alice telling Azami that he
in that sense. There were not only the fact that research societies were going to stay around, but with the exception of Souma's fight with Azon, which had, in my mind, a effect equal to this, it was the first time that they really struck a blow against Central, and that they showed that other people could keep doing this. And then later we got the, not long Shokugekis, but we got the scenes of Nikumi and Megumi also winning fights against other members. And I agree that they were kind of used as fodder to some degree, but I also wasn't sitting there thinking like, oh, I hope Alice 2.0 really gets a great Shokugeki somewhere down the line.
That was my problem. That was them striking back at Central. Central hadn't struck Polaris. Central until they Azami essentially said, all of you fight the Council of 10. Polaris was untouchable to them. Every time they went up against them, they won. And this was as they were trying to build up Central as this big antagonistic force. But they were kept on losing.
They won once when Azon went against them, and they didn't keep on losing. A bunch of different research societies were taken out. We saw that. The guy from the chocolate...
They weren't Polaris. They were random jobbers invented to lose.
Yeah,
all the casts we cared about weren't touched.
If maybe one of the dude bros went up against Central that time, maybe then it would have more of an impact.
Or if Megami lost her cooking society, the thing she really cared about and connected her to her home. If she lost and had to consider maybe that, if it was like Megami was considering that Central's idea of no man is left behind, or no person is left behind, was a good idea until she went up against Central to defend her research society that she considered home and lost, and that was her reason for realizing that no, I need to stand against this. If something like that was involved, that would have been interesting. But it was just that Central did nothing to Polaris. Polaris won every single time, to the point where Central. I was wondering, is Central? That was the point where I stopped considering Central as a threat because they kept on losing.
I mean, I don't entirely agree, but I mean, agree to disagree on this one. There's one last thing I'd point out in this chapter, is that when we see all of the different ingredients following, we see mutton, we see radish, and we also see salmon. And I'd really hope if Souma had picked salmon, he'd be like, "I got it, salmon carte blanc," and Cookie was just in the cage like, "Oh."
So speaking of new characters, because that was a thing 5 minutes ago, we actually get introduced to the judges in the final panel.
One panel.
Yeah.
Well, we introduced to two judges, unless the third one literally has no head.
And I think the third one's the Grudge.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
I think it's the Grudge, a guy from the One Shot, and I could be wrong here. I think first black person in Shokugeki no Souma.
Oh God, I hope not.
President Omaha.
Oh.
I'm trying to. Have we? I don't think we've had.
I don't think we have. None of the students. I don't remember any of the students being.
Oh well.
Wow. Oh, okay. 207 chapters in this. Wow.
This is a milestone.
Look, I get it. It's a school in Japan, but I think it's an international school. Whatever. I don't want to get on this discussion.
Yeah, let's move over. Let's move on before we start calling. Yes, let's move on.
Okay then. So, My Hero Academia, chapter 130. Listen to the real truth, as opposed to fake truth, I guess.
Fake news.
Fake news. All right. Starting the timer.
Starting it now. In 3, 2, 1.
So Night Eye and Bubble Girl prepare to investigate a block of flats that appears to be a hideout for the Yakuza. Mirio calls them over, and they explain the situation about Overhaul. Night Eye and Bubble Girl tell Deku about a truck accident Overhaul essentially instrumented without actually leaving evidence that it was him. It apparently involves a quirk that can heal injuries and wipe memories. But one thing's certain, he's a competent villain. Mirio and Deku inform them about Eri. You remember Eri, right? Overhaul's daughter from Autocrator. So Deku is like, she has the horns. Deku is like, I want to rescue her, but Night Eye's like, no, we need to wait and prepare ourselves. So then we cut to UA where we see Todoroki and Bakugo have been getting abused by the teachers at the provisional license training course. Deku can't concentrate in class and thus starts looking for All Might, who's out jogging. Deku confronts him about Night Eye, Mirio, and the fact that the latter was supposed to be the successor for One for All. We enter a flashback where All Might narrates about his relationship with Night Eye, as he was his sidekick and provided support and intelligence for him. But they stop working together when All Might gets really injured and refuses to retire until he finds a successor, and apparently Night Eye has been looking at All Might with his foresight after he specifically told him not to, which is pretty creepy and regardless. And we see that Night Eye had predicted his clash with All For One, I think. And we end the chapter finding out that Deku becoming the successor for All For One, for One For All, was simply a matter of timing. All Might was planning to even meet Mirio, but he had his encounter with Izuku beforehand. Wow.
1 minute, 55 seconds.
Nice, I guess.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This chapter was weird.
Oh.
And I enjoyed parts of it, but other parts were just felt slightly off to me.
It's weird to say. I don't have much of an opinion on this chapter. I think the scene with Sir Night Eye, along with All Might, is very interesting to me. Partially because we've actually seen very similar scenes like this before, in regards to Deku and his mother.
Yes.
And the fact that we're seeing it in this context not only provides some interesting insight into All Might's path, but adds some really unfortunate ideas for how Deku might end up, which has been in the series this entire time. The only thing I guess I'm a little slightly disappointed in, and maybe it's for the long haul, I wish we got a little bit more from the villains this chapter. But overall, I do like it fine. I think it's a decent one. It didn't really connect with me as strongly as last week's chapter did, but it's what we've seen from My Hero Academia in the sense that it's one of... It's hard to say when this is the same manga that has Promised Neverland in it. I would consider this the series that executes this drama the best, personally.
Oh, I'd agree. The bit that confuses me, maybe it's a cultural thing, but I don't get this idea of this idol worship of Deku's affecting him. You know, the final bit of the chapter where All Might's explaining how he didn't want to tell him this because you're a fan of mine. I don't get why that's a reason not to tell him. If it's just that I didn't want to tell you because it's obviously embarrassing. It's obviously embarrassing for him. He proved Night Eye right. But the idea that this affects, it's not. The thing that gets me is it's implying that it's because Deku is a fan of All Might, and it turns out that All Might hasn't been honest with him. It's been affecting his studies. It's been affecting him mentally. It's been affecting him to the point where he literally hunts him down and nearly cryingly asks, "Tell me the truth." Whereas if it was you've been keeping a secret from me, I don't know what to believe anymore, tell me as a mentor or something instead of an idol, I'd understand it. But it's not. It's the idol thing, and I don't get it.
I guess I could think of several reasons. One would be that this is All Might showing Deku his vulnerable side, which he knows, but
he's seen before though.
Yeah, he's seen it before, but this is more about All Might in his prime, I guess. And the other thing is, I guess it's not really connected to the idol thing, but I was thinking he didn't want to hurt Deku's feelings by making him think that actually Mirio would be the more Mirio. If All Might had met Mirio before meeting Deku, he would be the successor for One For All, and with Deku meeting Mirio and comparing himself to him, I guess a small inferiority complex might be developing for him.
Well, possibly. However, I'd just say that if you wanted to do that, then telling him in the first place before he had a chance to like consider himself special would have been the better thing to do. But then again, All Might does teach from a book called Teaching for Dummies.
Well,
so that might be in character, to be honest.
Yes, especially
that he really fucked this up.
Especially since All Might mentions in this chapter that he really didn't want to have a sidekick in the first place, but so it might have something to do with kind of a character trait of his that while he really wants to be, he isn't really a great mentor.
Yeah, I can see that. That if that's where this is going, that's kind of cool. But I just say it wasn't executed very well in this chapter. Then
I actually really like this chapter because it once again kind of beats Deku into his inferiority complex kind of beats him into submission. And I could see him feeling a lot of guilt over him being the actual successor in the end. That's what you said last week. A lot of pressure is being put on him, and he really is after all just a kid. So I think that this is one of the moments when we see Deku at his lowest, and these are really some of the moments that I look forward to when reading, when experiencing any piece of fiction in general. As regards to the characters, One Piece is really great at that, and I can't wait to see what My Hero Academia does for Deku. So yeah, I really like this chapter.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just one thing I want to bring up before we move on. Shigaraki's quirk. It keeps changing every time there's a reference to it.
Does it?
Don't you mean overhauls?
Well, you're right, I'm sorry, overhauls. Because before, it's implied that he just destroys people by touching them, but in this chapter he says it's implied that he had a quirk that magically made everyone come quietly, which could, again, he could have a team that everyone uses his quirks, that he essentially...
Well,
a team of people who he can order to use their quirks for him.
Or he could be like Todoroki, and he could have several quirks bred into him, I guess.
Which would also be quite cool. Yeah, I'm also still wondering about whether he is actually quirkless and has other people use it. If essentially, I'm on the line of, if he has somebody to use a quirk for him once in a scenario, then what's to say he's not using that idea for every single time? But I think that's just because I want to draw I want a comparison quirkless character who's a villain. So that might just be wishful thinking on my part.
I don't think Chisaki would be exactly the best character to do for that, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm probably just thinking too much into it. Right.
So
I do love the art at the end of this chapter. Sorry, I'm just skimming through it again.
Oh yeah, some of the panels on Deku and All Might are especially wonderful. And
also,
in one panel on page 18, Tsunaitai has a Chika V-face.
Oh no. Oh yeah, he does. That's weird. I'd also missed the art style change whenever All Might transforms, because it's been a while since we've seen it, and it's back in full force in this chapter.
Oh yeah.
Including the like, the geometric style of shading, that I think is only used for him, for his transformed form in this.
Yeah. It's, um, it's really kind of this over dramatic. I guess it was described as Silver Age, but I was thinking a bit. Well, no, I'm not really a great comics fan, but I was thinking, well, a bit later, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
What's up next?
Up next is Black Clover, chapter 102, Astor's Day Off. Come on, Kastor.
Okay, I can recap this. Okay, so Yami tells Astor he's not allowed on a mission. Then everyone else turns back up. Then they go to a festival. Then the two crippled people from the Ocean Temple arc turn up, and Astor cures them through Deus Ex Machina. They're all happy and non-crippled anymore, and then for some reason they demand that Astor and Noelle go on a double date with them. 28 seconds.
Okay.
I wish I could go into more detail on this after, because this was actually one I prepared for, but nothing happens in this chapter. It's one of those humorous interlude ones Black Clover does. Apart from it's not humorous.
I actually like it fine. I like that the 3 panels of the Black Bull characters coming back are essentially the exact same panels, just slightly altered, where if you're actually clicking on them on the Shonen Jump website, the panels are in the exact same place, so it's almost like a humorous flip book. I find that pretty amusing.
That is quite fun.
The only joke I didn't really care for was, Gauche coming... Actually, now that I think about it, it's kind of amusing. Gauche coming back as, an otaku. I don't know what... I just feel like out of all the characters you...
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Jonah?
Nova? I think we've lost him.
Well, okay,
On the idea of these... Yeah, go on.
I kind of was looking forward to this because I think I've mentioned it before, but my favorite Black Clover chapter of all time is the Mixer chapter, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when the humor doesn't really rely on Astor reacting to things, the Tabata's humor can get really good. Unfortunately, this chapter is a lot of Astor reacting to things. So the actual panels when were the Black Bulls. Well, that was weird.
Echo.
Jonah?
Sorry, yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay,
Hey.
so I'll just finish my thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead.
The actual panels where the Black Bulls get revealed one after another is fine. I mean, the last gag was really the least funny of them all, but there are still bits and pieces in the chapter that I like. For example, when they decide to prepare for the festival, out of nowhere, Gauche says, "I'll be staring at this picture of Marie," for some reason.
Yep.
I did find that somewhat amusing.
Yeah. I'll admit that this chapter wasn't to my sense of humor, because I did find the Mixer chapter quite funny, and I can't help but compare it to this.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'd say is, before we get onto the festival section, is it just me, or especially for, as you were saying earlier, essentially copied panel layouts, the art for the introduction of the characters, not the introductions themselves, but the other panels on the page, excuse me, or is the art a bit simplistic?
I can't. Well, maybe it's the Well, a lot of times when
it's a completely white black background.
When emphasis is put on comedy, the art gets a bit more simplified. But yeah, I've especially noticed the lack of backgrounds in this. But when I get to the actual festival, then yeah,
then it picks up and it's lovely.
We have a lovely shot. A lovely shot of the castle in the background and in the foreground this lovely city with people rustling and bustling and it's a really I think it's really one of Tabata's best art pieces. But yeah,
and then the 2-page spread of the festival itself.
Yeah.
Is it 2-page in your versions?
Yeah, I think that was what I was talking about then. So.
Oh yeah, that's lovely. I'm not complaining too much if that's where the effort for the art in this chapter went, because it wasn't like it looked sketchy or unfinished previously, but this is really nice to look at.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about how the random people from the Ocean Arc got brought back to be magically cured?
I mean, I would
it's not as bad as when Fairy Tail does it.
Yeah,
but
I would give Tabata shit for it, but then again, it's at least it doesn't do that. The next chapter, it didn't do that. The next chapter, the Ocean Arc ended. So,
I can agree to that. I still don't. Maybe it's just me. I don't really understand why this wasn't like an option from the beginning, in the sense that people were like, well, you know, if recovery magic this strong is out there, why not just use it? Or maybe not even that. I feel like a better way to write this exact same scene is, instead of it being like the blood creation magic, which I guess you can just keep in a jar.
The Witch Queen is kind of bullshit. I wouldn't put it past her.
A brain in a jar? Never mind. Sorry.
Why not just have Fauna do it? Doesn't she have like the super healing magic?
You know, that would have made far more sense.
Yeah, just have Fauna do it. Like,
and
then it's something that we couldn't have had before that actually makes sense within the series. But here it really does feel like he's just like, oh, here's my jar of bullshit, guys.
And if Fauna did it, that would literally be her trying to redeem the actions of the Midnight Sun.
Mm-hmm.
That would have worked really, really well. But no, jar of bullshit.
Yeah, just give me a moment. I'm gonna try and use my other. I'm on my phone right now. I'm gonna try and use the computer Skype one last time.
Fair enough.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
And there we go.
And Echo again.
Echo. Okay.
So,
yeah.
Do we have something else to talk about this chapter?
I'm not looking forward to this double date, but apart from that, I think that's it.
Well, the last time we had a date in Black Clover, it was a funny chapter, but yeah.
Do people go on double dates with their siblings? Is that a thing? That seems really creepy to me.
That does sound creepy. Like, technically, if both of you are fine with it, you would be excellent wingmen for each other. But that does seem like a weird thing. Like, I don't have a sister, but I have a brother, and I'd still be feeling weird being on a date trying, like, to which the end point might be getting him laid. It would be weird.
It just seems a little weird, like, if, like, you know... I'm gonna ignore the brother and sister dynamics here, just because like that's a whole other discussion I don't feel like getting into today.
I'm now just remembering the final chapter of Bleach, with Yuzu and Ichigo and everything.
But just this sentiment of like, oh, here are my friends like Noelle and Asta. I'm gonna help my sibling try to get with them. Like, it just feels a little. I don't have siblings. Maybe that's just why. Maybe I just don't understand this, but it feels a little odd to me.
It's weirder to me that they're going on a double date with people that they're both interested in, but they haven't had any sort of like reciprocation of their love, and they're doing what would be quite an important and potentially awkward date if they get turned down, and doing it together. This seems like a terrible idea. Despite the fact that Asta seems to have shiny eyes, so he does seem to be totally into this.
Like, is one of you the sister with a human mask on?
Can I make you dress as a nun?
Well, I mean, Asta has shining eyes at everything, basically, so I guess it could...
I really want him just to bring on a nun costume and ask her to change into it.
I'm just imagining, like, Asta's Tinder profile. There's just a bunch of, like, pictures with him shirtless with, like, the description, "Can I make you dress up as a nun?"
And he only searches, like, the exact distance to his orphanage with the exact age range of his nun mother figure.
It just gets sadder and sadder.
So
I also quite like the idea that Finra would have made him get Tinder, and he would have just set it to pick up the nun in the hope that she also has Tinder.
Yeah.
We may have to speed up a little bit. I can't say longer.
Okay. Speaking of mother figures that dress up in black and white, Promised Neverland, chapter 31, empty. Empty chairs at empty tables. Now my friends are dead and gone.
Don't tempt me, I will sing the entire thing.
And never coming back, just like Unohana. I swear it. I hope that every single Promised Neverland chapter from now on starts with a Les Mis reference. So we begin... have you started the timer?
Starting 3, 2, 1, go.
So we begin with a montage of Emma living her daily life at the orphanage and being reminded of Norman's absence. She can't help but see him everywhere, even though she knows he's not there. Our title card for this week is a callback to the first cover page with all the children standing in front of the orphanage, except sad and with the notable absence of Norman, obviously. So that's nice. Phil and the other children figure out Ray and Emma are in a foul mood, and we enter a flashback again. A lot of flashback this week, where we see Ray has completely given up and just intends to die on the farm. He gives Emma back the disabler and of the tracking device, and Don and Gilda seem unable to motivate their senpai and decide to continue working on their own. We cut to Emma lying depressed on her bed and see what an emotional crutch Norman has been to her. She tries to find new motivation, but to no avail. Isabella arrives to hug Emma, half comfort her and half gloat about her victory. She encourages her to give up and offers her a chance to become a mum herself. We get a new information in that mums themselves give birth to the children. Emma refuses and pretty much gives up. Isabella proclaims checkmate, and we cut to 2 months later, where Emma and Ray meet up during the last night before Ray's shipment, because it's Ray's birthday tomorrow. He asks her if she has seriously given up, to which Emma responds with a cunning smirk. Ray guesses not, and the chapter ends.
1 minute, 44 seconds.
Nice. Yeah,
no,
it's better.
Yeah. Like, I will admit, this chapter got me up until the final page when I was just like, oh shit, I guess despair got to them, because that's logical at this point. And then that final panel of Emma.
Since when were you under the impression that I had given up?
Yeah! It's because if you look back, it makes so much sense that if you let Mom believe that you are depressed and have given up, then she will have let her guard down. But no, she's been planning, and we're about to get Emma's breakout strategy.
Although I'm just wondering what Ray's reaction in the next chapter will be. Okay, so you had a plan all along, and you waited until the last night before my shipment to tell me. Well, fuck you.
Yeah. I'm really hoping next week just like, yeah, well, I know it looked like I'd given up, but seeing as you hadn't given up, my baby memories let me go back in time, so I didn't give up either.
Yeah, it's weird. We've sort of started in the time where, with each chapter of Promised Neverland, there's not a ton to say, really. Because as intense a chapter as this was, and as, we didn't really get anything we didn't already know about, in the sense that, like, Emma obviously doesn't want to be a mom, even though Isabella did offer it to her. Isabella thinks she's one, and I'm not saying this is a criticism, it's just in the sense that there's not a ton to really discuss. The end panel is certainly interesting. I'm not really sure. It's sort of to your point, I'm not quite sure what Emma's plan could probably be, in the sense of, like, once Ray's out of the way, all the escape will be mine. Like, what?
Well, I think she's coming to him now to essentially say, this is how we're all going to escape as I save you on the night before you're being shipped off.
I think that's probably it. I just like to think, like, it's not going to happen, but she just comes over, like, I just came to, like, say fuck you one last time. I'm going to save everyone except you.
Yeah, I figured out what you were doing, Ray. You were trying to make only us three escape. Well, everyone's escaping with me now. Everyone but you, Ray. Goodbye, Ray.
This would be so. This would be so out of character.
A hologram. She's like, oh.
Yeah. Can your baby memories solve this, Ray? No, they can't. Can you?
Totally can't. Totally can't. I'm better than that.
There's only two things. Like I agree. This chapter was good, but there's very little to discuss about it because it's all dependent on what happens next.
I mean, I would.
But yeah.
I would kind of. Yeah. I agree that there's not much to talk about, but I think this chapter was important to let it sink in that Norman is really gone and how it affected the other characters. It was important. Well, maybe not not regarding plot points, but emotionally. Because up until now, even though Emma was built up to be the main character, Norman, as Emma said, Norman really was doing a lot of the work, a lot of the leading, and now we have a situation in which the leader, the leader is out of the picture. So now someone needs to step up to become that leader. And now Emma and Ray understandably have no motivation, or do they?
Or
as we see in the last page.
Yeah. I would quite like to see what Norman's been doing in these past few months.
I would like to see that later, maybe. But
oh yes, yeah,
I'm interested. I'm interested to see what Don Gilder had been figuring out for these 2 months, because we haven't been getting too much of them lately, and they also have been built up to be quite intelligent, next to the main trio, of course. What is their plan at the moment? For a while, I was thinking that. For a short while, I was thinking that they were going to plan an escape on their own, and it is the case. But I'm still not certain whether it would involve the other kids or whether they also had given up on Ray, who basically outright said that he was not going to participate in their escape. So it's either way, it's interesting. It would be interesting to see what they've been doing all this time.
Yeah, I think that my only comment is that I'm quite glad that we got the answer of how the kids of these factories are made, and it's by in vitro fertilization, because that solves an entire aspect that I'm really glad we don't have to go into.
All right then. So, should we move on to Dr. Stone, or do we have something else to discuss?
Dr. Stone would be good.
Dr. Stone sounds good.
Okay. So, this is Dr. Stone, Chapter 3, King of the Stone World. Go, Nova.
3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so, they're about to revive what's-his-face's pseudo-girlfriend, but then he decides, no, I can't do that because she's naked. So they go off to find her some clothes. but then lions appear from the local zoo that have apparently reproduced and lived for thousands and thousands of years. And then they go to find the super powerful high school person whose name I don't have in front of me, so I can't pronounce it. They break him out, and he punches lions, which is kind of awesome and kind of bizarre, but I don't care because this chapter was really fun.
Yes, it was amazing. 30 seconds, yes.
Yes, right on the dot. Sort of.
Yeah, this chapter was cool. The lions, I'll fangasm over it later, so if someone actually wants to make a point.
It's still a series where you can't really tell what it is. It certainly now has battle manga aspects to it.
We also now have a villain.
In a very bizarre sense, and it's not like Cage of Eden where there are these somewhat realistic fights to go against it, because this guy just punched out a herd of lions.
Yes.
Not a herd, a pride of lions. Just punched them out completely. But also, if this series really is just them traveling around the world, punching out a bunch of bizarre species that have somehow survived, I'm kind of okay with that too.
Yep.
But
also,
I found out just before you say this, Kastor, I found out what the strongest bloke's name is. It's Tsukasa. And it's a really interesting.
Are we sure this is a guy? Are we entirely sure? Because this is the most bishonen man I have ever seen. To the point where if this guy is meant to be the big punchiest guy in the series, there is no way in hell he's not a villain.
Yeah,
I actually kind of really like his design because of that. Because it's not
sweet, but yeah, he's definitely evil.
I really like I like that it's a thinner frame. I love the cracks along the face are becoming a really cool element in this series where they're sort of appearing on everyone that's breaking out. And I think the most unintentionally awesome thing in this entire chapter is that as he's breaking out, parts of the stone around his hair don't leave, so he has these braids purely because they haven't broken out yet.
Also the way that all the stone falls just enough to cover his junk in every single scene, which is also quite funny.
Yeah.
I would agree with you that we might have a potential villain in the making, but because not only does he take up Taiju's role in the group, but he also, I guess it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see if someone who's really stronger and more dominating than the other two doesn't agree with their ideals. That there appears a conflict of interest.
Conflict is the word, because this guy's he is the fighter. You've got brains and brawn, and this guy's introduced as the fighter. This guy's speciality is conflict. Unless you have a division in a group, there is no need for this man to exist.
Yeah.
Something else I'll note, and Boichi as an artist, I liked his art for Sun Ken Rock, but it is absolutely stunning.
I know.
In this series. Maybe my favorite page I've seen in shonen manga in months is the title page for this one, when they're just jumping off the cliff. It's really, really funny just to see their expressions as they just bolt off the side of the cliff. But when you see the sky, the mountains, and I'm pretty sure that's Mount Fuji in the back, it just looks absolutely gorgeous. And even if this series wasn't very well written and very humorous and very exciting, the art alone would do a tremendous job to pull it through.
The art is amazing. My favourite one is the one where the lion is literally chasing them down the panels.
I like that the lion has a harem too. Apparently, it's just like one male lion and a bunch of lioness.
Which makes sense until you have the thing of the male lion would never be out hunting by itself.
My favorite.
Yeah, but I also wonder, like, if this is like the whole pride, then it's kind of like, wow, how have you guys survived for like 1,000 years up until now?
I really hope it's that he wanted to draw a pride of lions, but drew the main on one, and then thought this is far too much trouble.
Yeah.
This is the Askeladd of lions.
You do end up with a harem in every single goddamn crew.
So
it's completely unintentional, I promise.
Welcome to welcome to the Marine Vanguard unit. I am your leader, and only girls can join. No questions asked.
Tamaki's boat was a sausage fest till Kitty showed up. Also, we do have a guy in that crew. He's a fisherman NPC, but he still can.
Making a "he's not a person" joke would entirely fit with the One Piece canon as well.
Anyway, moving on with Dr. Stone and not
I'm just gonna
involving crews Jonah joined.
I'm just gonna mention my
say joined. I say formed around you like the harem master you are.
No.
I'm just gonna mention one panel on page 5. Boichi really shows his talent on drawing comedic faces too, because the last panel, the last but one panel on page 5, with Senku's face when he doesn't even believe what Taiju is saying is wonderful.
It's amazing. It looks like if you look at the lines, the lines are a sketch, but it looks amazing.
Yeah. No, I love the comedy that starts out with this chapter. I just love, and to be honest, it's a very real concern that I'm actually glad, because in Fairy Tail nobody would care about like the female character being naked. They're just like, oh, revive her right away. Who cares?
I also love that he doesn't care. He literally doesn't care so long as she's still stone. It's the moment she becomes back to a human, that's when he cares she's naked, because she'll know he saw her naked.
Well, she'll know regardless, because he and Senku also knew all the experiences they went through while being petrified. So, yeah.
I don't think they could see or feel, but I get what you mean. But my favourite line in this entire thing is that the intensity of the lines of Yuzuriha doesn't have a dick. That's not the point.
I think I would love it even more if it was an absolutely super serious face.
Sorry, I just saw the panel with the lion eating the deer and the dead dog.
Yeah.
The lion. Oh, I love this. I really hope this gets picked up. I really want to see this.
This series is a joy every single week.
This is amazing, and the science, like. Oh.
Yeah, I really hope this gets picked up, and that you may be surprised, but I really hope that We Never Learn gets picked up, but for a different reason. I really want to talk about teaching in this, especially teaching English, because Yuiga's way of teaching is bullshit.
I'm sure.
I like We Never Learn.
I enjoyed what I saw.
I'd be up for seeing that.
Yeah, I'm keeping up on it, but if it gets picked up, I wouldn't mind catching up on it.
Yeah, but anyway, so do we have anything more to say about Dr. Stone, or do we move on to Robot Lasebeam?
We will move on. I'll actually, after I recap the chapter, I might have to head out, actually.
That's fair enough.
But before I do the recap and head out, there's actually a quick plug I'm going to put in here. Because by the time this episode goes up, it should be around March 21st or March 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's in the chat, and I don't think anyone is, so I think it's just Kastor who's going to get to find this out early. We're actually going to be announcing the next Form event tomorrow.
Sweet. That will be 3 of them I've done without finishing a thread.
Yeah. It's not gonna be for a little while. It's gonna be another May event. So just an announcement for that's coming up, and I might as well announce the theme here as well, because that's going to be in the announcement tomorrow. It's going to be a dungeon crawl.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Oh, it's going to be great. So I'll just end here with a quick recap of Robo Lasebeam.
Well, you just spoiled Dr. Hoven because he's appeared in the chat. Hey.
Turned up purely for spoilers.
Sorry, Doc. Sorry, Hoven. For some reason, my laptop isn't showing the chat, but I hope your reaction's good. Yeah. Alright, anyway, recap of Robo Lasebeam. There's a guy who's very robotic and doesn't really have much emotion, and then other than that, it's pretty much every single shonen sports chapter you've ever seen. There's a bunch of douchebags who come up and say that, oh, your best friend can't play this sport, and he's like, oh, but I can play this sport extremely well. And I don't know, I skimmed through most of this chapter.
Yeah.
I guess they're all going to join the golf club.
Yeah. There's a couple of good aspects to it, but it is mostly here is generic shonen sports first chapter.
Yeah.
Friend is bad at sport. I have never played sport. I am magically good at sport. I am protagonist.
Yeah. All right, I got to peace out.
Right. See you later.
Have a good time, guys.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, see you around. Cheers.
Fair enough. See you later.
Yeah, so I thought I actually rather enjoyed it. I mean,
Oh, really?
I haven't read a lot of sports series, so maybe that's a bit of an influence. But I kind of liked that the protagonist is a bit different from what we see in the sports manga I read, for example, iShield 21 and Cross Manage. It's this kind of strange deadpan emotionless personality could be fun in the long run, but
in the long run maybe. It's nice that he's different. I just wish he was interesting.
Yeah, it's maybe it's also not the best that he's starting as essentially the best out of the characters that got introduced in the first chapter.
He is he's literally magic.
I didn't mind that part that he's actually good at it, because his personality, his obsession with precision and calculation and so on, does kind of in a stupid but awesome way explain it, but the other characters that get introduced won't be as, especially the big the olive skinned guy, I forget his name.
Oh, the totally not rival character.
Yeah, the totally not Shin. He doesn't really pose a challenge to Robo anymore, so.
It was really confusing because that was the one part of the chapter I liked. His idea of I came to this like lower end range because the one I normally go to is packed. I don't know. It's not long enough for me. I'll go home. And then he hears someone on the lower stage. He hears the ball and knows it was really good, and that motivates him to say, "No, I will. You know what? I'm going to hit my ball until I'm going to practice until I can match his stroke." Like the Inner Pride I liked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so entirely sure who he heard, because I thought it was Robo, but it doesn't seem to match up timeline wise. Oh. So I'd be interested to find out who. Well, because if he did hear Robo hitting the balls from the middle of the chapter when Robo was hitting the balls at the end of the chapter, that would be really weird. So
Yeah, I guess if this is another character that gets introduced, then it could feel interesting. But
also, Also, I believe the guy he heard was hitting balls at the 150 mark, where Robo was hitting them towards the 100 mark, or the other way around, whichever one it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I'll read it for our recaps, but this opening chapter was very lost on me, I must admit.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but there really isn't that much more to say about this. So.
Yeah.
Yes. So I guess. Do you have something else to say, or is that all for this week?
I think that might be all for me.
Okay then. So that will be all for Stammer Stream this week. Thank you all for watching, either on my YouTube channel or live at hitbox.tv/Wensleydale. We especially like to thank you, Dr. Hoven and Grail9, who showed up in the chat room. Thank you guys.
Holy shit, people turned up!
Yeah, this is crazy. Okay, we usually record on Mondays at noon Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. GMT and 6 p.m. GMT plus 1. This week was the exception because...
uni hates me.
Yeah, but because we had some other plans, and because for some reason my country implements daylight saving time a fortnight later than yours do.
Yeah.
So you can follow me on Twitter at Wensleydale for updates on the stream, on Benganta, Friendly Faces Everywhere, Iffy Reviews, Well Triggered, and many, many more projects I will undoubtedly get myself into. Follow Milo at Hoven with an H for anime waifus and Cabal hijinks, and follow Kastor and Dr. Nova at Kastor UK and at Jonah Left Snow for Eternal Silence.
I was about to make that joke.
So Kastor, we already had the event plug. So do you want plug? Do you want to plug something specifically?
Unless I can plug my final year report being published nowhere, I think I'm good for the moment. But
I have faith in you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
till next week.
Yeah. Also visit us on odar.conforums.com to write some lovely stories with us and hang out and talk about manga in general. So.
Yes. Come join Jonah's ever-growing harems. He's got 2 now.
Oh yes, join the. Okay. I'm not gonna tell people to join the Blue Wolves because then
you want a space for yourself.
Then you will never fucking sail to West Blue.
No, we never will.
But okay. Once again, cheers for watching, and see you next week. Take care.
See you guys.